Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning, folks. You're looking live at Podup Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Friday. We got JC, and then we have Jake Hitt will take over the second portion of today's program. If you missed it yesterday, Gators lose in overtime in Nashville to Mississippi State on a last-second shot. I didn't see any of the game, unfortunately, but a lot of conference tournaments are in full force right now. The selection show will be Sunday, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. We'll TPC, JC, and our picks, how they're doing. And good morning, JC.
Yeah, buddy.
You got your Bobby Knight hat on, I see.
Well, it's that time of year, QB. I can't wait for the selection show tomorrow night. I'm so excited about that. Actually, it's Sunday night. And, the favorites get into action on the courts today. They've had, 5, 6, 7 days off, something like that. So, we're going to find out. I think a couple teams have to play their way in. Obviously, some teams have to stay on the bubble and continue to be in. But I think for the teams like Kansas and Alabama, UCLA, they're playing to find out if they can get a top seed in a region. So, for Alabama, specifically out of the SEC, I think one of the region sites is Birmingham. So obviously they want to play well in this tournament or the next two games to pretty much solidify the idea that they would get a couple of games in Birmingham, Alabama. So that's what I guess they're thinking about, trying to get back on track. All these teams that have had a long week off, and we've got TPC golf, Florida baseball, QB. What about that this weekend?
Well, I wanted to bring that up. I don't know if you're aware of this, but JC, they have this kid named Jack Caglione.
I know.
Caglione, I should say. I pronounce his name wrong all the time.
Yeah.
He's hit 11 home runs through 15 games.
He's like Ohtani. Okay.
Yeah, he pitches as well.
He's Ohtani. And really, he's the player right now that, for some reason, we talked about, for good reason, we talked about all the guys that were hitting home runs last week against poor old little Miami. And this guy, Jack, is a two-way guy. He's Brad Wilkerson. He's Ohtani. He's the player that the country watches. And here he is playing in Gainesville. So fans should be feeling very fortunate that they get to see a talent like this in Gainesville. Now, who are they playing? QB, I have to apologize.
I apologize, too. I don't even know who we got.
Okay, well, I'm going to find out, and I'm sure one of our loyal viewers will feed us the information. But I want to say they're playing Alabama in baseball. And,
already? Conference play can't start already.
Okay, so maybe I'm crazy. I guess I am. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Well, I heard somebody say that at the golf course, and so I wasn't listening. No, next game, let's see. They've got Siena. Oh, home series versus Siena Saints.
The Saints are rolling in. Look out.
I don't know why I would think. Just hit me over the head. Here come the Siena Saints. All right, so this is going to be another one of those batting practice weekends, and that's fine. Just, go ahead, hit your 15 home runs this weekend, and keep it going.
All right, we got a couple of Facebook Lives brought to you by Meldon Law. Andy wants to know if we're having a March Madness bracket contest. Sure, Andy. I'm letting our producer and the folks that run Podup get the contest put together. Start working on it now, folks.
You're letting them do that, QB. You're letting them do that.
We gave out some great prizes last year. We'll do the same this year, but we got to get our folks to set that up. Phil, you hear me, Phil? All right, so Phil just got the message. Gene wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. We need a weight update on JC.
Gene, yeah, can't crack that 200 barrier. Just can't do it. The tennis has taken its toll. I've had a foot injury here recently. Man, it's tough being a two-way athlete. Although Gene, maybe 30 years ago was a two-way athlete, and here I am doing it now. I think
He just wanted to know what your weight was.
yeah,
He's not asking about your athleticism.
well, but see, the athleticism is what cuts the weight, QB. It's like you got to stay active. You can't just sit on your butt all day. You got to do things, and so that's why I'm tying it all together here. And it's important that you stay active at this in midlife. QB. You can't just sit up in a coach's box and look at a chart and look at the plays and say, "Oh, well, maybe we should run that." I mean,
I know. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darlene Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, MMA Parish, provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. SEC tournament, as we said, gets in full force today. Gator season is over. They will likely be in the NIT. And JC, so golf yesterday, I watched a little bit of golf.
Did you? Yeah.
A lot of the big boys. Well, first of all, the damn wind didn't blow, and they make the course too damn easy. Are you going to TPC today?
Yeah. So today I'm going to go see if Chad Rainey can stay on top of the leaderboard. The guy had 4 birdies yesterday on the front 9. He had 4 birdies yesterday on the back 9. He shot 8 under, and I'm thinking, what is this? What is this? And obviously the pins were in the most prime, easy spot, perhaps you would say, for the first round of a tournament like this. But a 5th major is getting, I think some scores that you would. I just don't think
maybe the Arnold Palmer Invitational is taking over as the 5th major now.
Well, I tell you, if you ask Paul Azinger, it's the hardest course on the tour right now, and the way they set it up definitely challenge these guys. But my guy Victor Hovland, who I had. Is only 4 back. He's 4 under. He's on a course like this. I think you can get hot and just blow it up, but you can also have a couple of wayward shots that really ruin your round. Sam Burns is also 4 under. I like him. Jason Day plays this course well. I think he's 3 under, and so is Jordan Spieth. Today, the group I'm going to watch primarily that I want to see play is Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and who am I forgetting? The third guy, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler.
In their group.
Yeah,
Roy shot. He was 3 or 4 over par yesterday.
Yeah, so he's got to do something. Oh, I have Thigala. He's 2 under. Like him. I liked him. Are any of your guys even in the on the board at all? I mean,
I got Max Homa, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sungjae Im. He's like 2 or 3 under, and Corey Connors. I don't know where they sit. I don't really look at it until tomorrow when they have a cut.
Okay.
So I have no idea, JC. I just know this: if you do not birdie the par 5s there, you have no chance. So
that's right.
But I'm very disappointed in the grounds crew at the TPC Sawgrass. I mean, hell,
Kimmy,
they made it way too easy.
Well, look, I mean, they did for some guys, but there's plenty of guys who are at 1 under or worse. John Rahm is 1 under. This guy's made 1 cut in 10 opportunities at this course. 1 cut. So he doesn't play it well. I'm sorry, he just does. He does.
Did you see Aaron Wise on 18?
I didn't.
Okay, he hit, I think 4 tee balls, snap hooked them in the water.
Yeah,
he just kept teeing up. Then he found his last tee ball. He fired way right into the woods.
It is the hardest finishing hole. I want to say the hardest finishing hole in golf. What do you think?
I mean, maybe on the regular tour. I mean, it depends. The wind's the key. If the wind isn't blowing, it's not that hard. He was just trying to cut the corner, and he kept freaking snap hooking it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got a couple of texts on the Titan Mar text line. Josh from Mississippi says, been super busy with work, out of town, and so this, that, and the other in 2023. But your show has kept me going. What's going on? Thanks for the great content. Well, thanks, Josh. Thanks for listening. I don't know about our great content.
Well, I mean,
this time of the year,
you're sitting in the swamp. Okay, we come on every day in the morning. And by the way, your guys, you've got Connors at +3, you've got Im at +3, and you've got Fitzpatrick at +3. You're struggling.
Oh, you know what? Dadgummit. I thought I had Siwoo Kim.
No, you said Sungjae Im, but Siwoo Kim is
they're all the same guy. Dadgummit. Okay, I'm stuck with Sanjay then. But
Well,
I
yeah,
wanted Siwoo because Siwoo plays that course good.
Siwoo
Dang
does,
it.
and he's a former champion. How do you not know that? You do know that.
I
I mean,
know he's
yeah.
who I wanted, but I got confused with my South Koreans. There was a hole in one yesterday. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
I forgot who had it, but somebody had a hole in one on 17. How about that,
Yeah.
JC?
Everybody wants to make a big deal out of 17 QB. It's a 142-yard par three. Come on.
I don't understand why they make it so. I mean, why they think it's so hard.
It's not, unless the wind is going across. It's not hard at all. If you have wind with you or if you have wind at you, it is easy. If the only way that hole becomes difficult is if, and people have told me this, is if you've got a left to right or right to left wind. That is
Well,
it.
you know why
It's
us
140
professionals,
yards.
you know why we don't think it's very difficult?
Why?
Well, first of all,
Yes.
they try to if the pin is 142 yards,
Yeah.
they're trying to hit the ball 142 yards within this certain area on the green. So their putt, they may want a right to left putt or a left to right putt. We just get up there, get the yardage, and swing, JC.
And try to hit it on the green. Yeah. The one time I played that hole, I've only played it once. I hit it in that dumb little bunker in the front, made a 4. I did not get up and down. But yeah, I guess it's dramatic because of the perceived pressure these guys might be on for the leaders, especially on Sunday and Saturday, to try to make a move or to try to stay on top. But my God, it's 142 yards. So anyway, it's an iconic hole. It is. It's the most famous hole, I guess you could say, in golf. Really, it's the most seen. But it's where everybody stands. Your guy Ryan Riley or Kevin Riley or the singer Riley. What's the
Riley Green?
Riley Green gave a great concert right there on 17.
You were there?
No, but my friends went, and they set him up on.
He's unbelievably good.
Well, so Unbelievable Riley was set up on a stage. Check this out, on the sidewalk that they walked, and the entire audience, including many golfers, were right there on the hill watching him perform. And
yeah, I saw videos of that. It's they usually have a country artist for the Military Appreciation Day every year, and Riley Green is. If we have any country music lovers out there, and you don't know who Riley Green is, I suggest you go listen to Riley Green.
So who's bigger? Is Riley Green bigger or Morgan Wallen?
No. They're different. Look, Riley Green is a guy that opens up for Morgan Wallen. Okay. Riley Green is the guy that gets on his bus and he goes to the college town. But I told you, he's a former quarterback at Jacksonville State University. Mm-hmm. He's working his way up there. But if you're a true country music fan, you will know who Riley Green is.
It takes one hit, dude. Just get him one hit.
He's got multiple hits, JC.
I'm still waiting to hear like one of them. Give me the best song he sings. What's the name of it?
The most popular one, If Grandpa's Never Died.
Okay, I'm going to listen to Grandpa's Never Died on my way.
You'll be crying, JC. I know how emotional you get.
Yeah.
Just when you're driving over there, I don't know who you're driving with, but just tell them to shut the hell up and turn on Riley Green's 5 or 6 songs. You'll like all of. He sings. He's got another one about I don't know the name of it. I don't know the names of songs, but he sings a song because his grandpa was a huge Alabama fan.
Yeah.
And in this song, it talks about Alabama beating the hell out of Tennessee. So you will like that song too.
God, and that happens so many times. Okay, great.
So now that we're part of the Riley Green fan club here.
Well, the country music station, and we're doing great reviews here. I need this kind of information. It's a 2-hour drive to Greek Cove Springs and some of these little places.
I promise you listen to Riley Green, you will like his songs. But Grandpa's Never Died is probably his best one. Andy has a question on here. He's like, y'all should quit talking about country music. He says, Shane, how excited are you to coach Quentin Flowers? Quentin's been here for 2 days. I don't even know if he'll ever take a snap. Here's what people don't understand. Again, like I told you, we practice for an hour and 40 minutes, and then that's it. There's nothing like, JC, we need to go out and throw extra with you.
Yeah.
Or we need to go over this. You can't. It's It's crazy. And Quentin hadn't played in 2 or 3 years. Like I said, I have nothing to do with who we sign. I have nothing to do with calling plays. I just relay plays in. All right, we got a text on the Titan MR text line. It's from an anonymous texter. He says, "I love y'all's Peachland Dental picks content.
Yeah. Sure.
Can we get JC's picks of who we should put money on
Yeah.
before the NCAA tournament starts?"
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, next week, good text there. I like those kinds of texts. Next week, well, Sunday when we watch the selection show, we're going to know where everybody's playing and who's in whose bracket and which bracket is harder and which bracket is easier. I'll be all over that next week on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. It starts on Thursday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and it goes.
No, it starts on like Tuesday night.
Well,
they got the playing games.
You're right. I don't even consider the playing games. You're right. It does. So for me, though, I'm a kind of more of a traditionalist. The Thursday day is when it starts. These other teams are playing in because they have to, so I don't really care about them. They're going to get beat likely in the first round, not necessarily, but likely. So the first round for me, anyway, is on Thursday. But at any rate, we're gonna, it goes on Thursday. It goes from the beginning of the day in that noontime hour all the way past midnight. On Thursday and on Friday, it is basketball betting heaven. It is basketball watching heaven, and it is heaven. Okay. So those first 2 days are great, and we'll see some crazy thing happen. They'll storm the court, and we'll have a huge upset. You can almost count on a 5 beating a 12. It happens every year. And in this tournament this year, with all the very good teams, I think, that are going to be in this tournament, we're going to see more upsets than you think. So if you're getting a bracket, you need to look at some teams that will upset higher seeds. And that happens quite a bit, but I think it's going to happen a lot this year. I think we're going to have a lot of lower seeds win.
One of our loyal listeners, Lauren Meadows, says the first four crank up in his hometown. He's a Dayton Flyer. He loves the Flyers. He's from Dayton, Ohio.
They got so screwed during COVID. I felt terrible for Anthony Grant. That was a top 4 seed that year. They canceled the tournament because of the COVID, and I feel terrible what happened with poor Dayton. So Lauren, your Flyers had it that year, and it was kind of stolen. Kind of like the Expos when the baseball went on strike. The Montreal Expos were probably the best team in the major leagues, and we'll never know if they would have been world champions because they went on strike.
Dan wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, if you're going to Biloxi, JC, for the NCAA tournament.
Oh, what a great idea. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe Dan will meet you there.
Why wouldn't I? I mean, for Dan, it's about a 9-hour drive from Dallas. For me, it's 6 from here. And the action is furious. So, yeah, that's possible. Dan, we'll have to talk about that next week. You just put that thought in my head. Wow. How much fun would that be?
All right. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escapology, Visor's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America.
Wow.
Did you know that? Did you know that Spurrier's is the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America?
No clue.
There you go. Well, now you do. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate.
I might go to Biloxi.
My glasses are getting terrible. I have to.
Yeah, QB, you're squinting a lot. You're getting wrinkly.
Well, I mean, they're not working. So when I get back, I got to go see the eye doctor. Alex says Anthony Richardson is going to be 20 years old in May. That's not right. He's got to be older than that.
He's older than 20.
He's been in college for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. How many times have you heard? How many times? Well, you remember when he was in high school, QB. So just do the count. So Anthony is thought of.
He's got to be at least 21.
Yeah, and I tell you, everybody's talking about him. I mean, he's like the only guy people are talking about, other than Stroud and Bryce. Yeah, it's Anthony Richardson there. I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a prediction. This is where Anthony Richardson is going to get drafted. You ready? You tell me if I'm crazy, but I'm telling you this is going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. He's going to get picked number 5 by the Seattle Seahawks. That's where he's going. He's going to Seattle.
I don't know where the team's pick, so I'll agree with that.
Seattle's got the 5th pick. Seattle's got the 5th pick. You heard it here first. Anthony Richardson to the Seattle Seahawks at number 5. It's going to make $25 million.
And see, Andy should work for our program. Andy looked up AR will be 22 in May. That's what I
Okay,
was like,
so
yeah,
we
he's not
got
gonna
it.
be 20. I was like, there's no way he can be 20. He's been in college for 4 years.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
he's gonna have 20
Yeah,
something
I
million
think
dollars.
I think he will be I still think he will be the fourth quarterback taken.
Fourth. Okay, so you've got Stroud, Levis, and Bryce Young
Bryce
in
Young.
front of them.
Yeah,
Well,
well, that's what I'm
it,
hearing. That's what I'm hearing from some of the personnel people.
mhm.
That they a lot of people get enamored with all the combine stuff, but they still
Okay.
put
Don't know
him as the
why.
fourth.
For some reason, yeah. Okay. Well, still, he's gonna be very happy on the draft is kind of the big story
It's gonna be great.
the draft is going to be the big story that I guess takes over after the NCAA tournament and after the Masters. We then go to the NFL draft right after the Masters golf tournament. So it's a big.
So JC, before we get out of here and turn it over to Jake, I have a couple of texts here. I'm not going to read them all, but it basically is talking about these quarterbacks in the NFL, just the middle of the road guys getting about 40 or 50 million dollars. Isn't that crazy?
I've never seen anything like it in my life, and I, to this day, I still don't know why Major League Baseball pays some of these baseball players what they pay them. But yeah, it is crazy what these football. Listen, it's all about the television. The NFL rules television. They are the king. There's nothing bigger than the NFL when it comes to television. They command the highest dollars, and those dollars flow down. It goes from top down. And so, I think it's going to be it's a good thing for these guys. The NFL is typically number 3 in the professional sports in terms of pay. It was either Major League Baseball or the NBA 1 or 2, and then the other one was 1 or 2, and then football was always behind those two. So,
all right, JC. All right, so let me ask you this: are you going to go sit like behind when they tee off on a par 3, and after the guy hits the ball, you're going to be one of those guys that screams, "Get in the hole"?
Yes, I actually want to walk to number 2, the par 5, and see him bomb driver. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to go to number 4 and see him hit that crazy shot over it's kind of an awkward green. I want to see that shot into the green. And then I typically walk down the hill over to number 9 and then back to the back 9. So it goes, you walk in 17, you go all the way to the clubhouse, you get something to drink, you go to number 2 all the way in the back, watch him bomb driver, come back up that par 5, go over to number 4, watch him come in on the approach shot, go across the hill to number 9, which is a big area with restaurant and bathrooms and concessions, and watch, it's number 8 green, which is the hardest par 3 on the course. Number 9, one of the easier par 5s. You get to see him play that hole. Then you go and head to the back 9. And the back 9, I've got some great places to hide out on the back 9 and watch golf. So it's not all about 17 and 16. The whole course is fantastic to watch for viewers because it's a stadium type of format where you can get up on a hill and see things. You can get close to the golfers and see what their little fidgety habits are and so forth. And it's a lot of fun to watch. And it's the kind of thing that I'm sure you would love to do. But unfortunately, you're going to be coaching football this weekend for those Guardians.
I'll be watching a lot of golf. Don't you worry. I'll be watching a lot of golf.
Yeah, maybe you can pull it off. I mean, Houston is the right now considered the best team. What a great upset this would be if the Guardians could shock the XFL world.
Shock the world.
The Roughnecks haven't left Houston. I mean, they played 3 straight home games. What kind of scheduling is that? It's ridiculous.
I mean, now I'll tell you what, I don't know. All right, JC, have a great weekend. Be careful over there. Don't raise too much hell in the gallery.
We'll see you Monday, guys.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take a time out. Turn this thing over to Jake Hitt. He'll be talking Gator sports. You're watching and listening to Podup Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back into the second half of Podup with Matthews in the morning. I'm Jake Hitt. I'll be filling in for Shane this half of the show. I'm joined by Jacob Rudner of 24/7 Sports. I love having him on. He's a great wealth of knowledge. Good to see you again, Jacob. How you doing?
I'm good, Jake. I appreciate you having me back on.
No problem. So, look, there's a lot of things that is going on for Florida right now. Obviously, nobody wants to talk about them losing yesterday on a heartbreaker. I'm more interested in spring practices just started. What have been your early observations through those first few sessions?
Yeah, I mean, we only get to observe about 15 minutes of the practices, so the amount of the observations, at least early on, are somewhat difficult to make. You don't want to jump to conclusions too quickly, just given the fact that you don't get to see too much. That being said, I have been impressed with things broadly. Florida's offensive line looks to be retooled with guys who are big, athletic, very fluid with their movements, aggressive players. Micah Mazuka is somebody who stands out to me, transfer from Baylor. Damian George, transfer from Alabama, is another guy. Keontae Goodwin transfers in from Kentucky. These are all players who look really, really good. So I am curious to see exactly how that translates when things get into more game-like action. But I would say through 3 practices, 2 of which were in helmets only, 1 of which was in helmets and shoulder pads only, I'm impressed with how Florida's offensive line looks. And then just broadly, I'm hearing some good things about guys like Andy Jean, freshman wide receiver. Graham Mertz has gotten a lot of praise early on in spring practices. And so there are players who we've heard good things about so far, but again, it is very early.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Andy Jean. I've been seeing just a lot of stuff about him, about his route running capabilities, which, I mean, look, all they're doing is throwing routes on air in front of you guys. So there's got to be something to be said about being able to do that, like, in that setting.
No, there is. And I think it matters to see how the quarterback and the receivers are linking up to a certain degree, how things look in terms of when the ball leaves the hand, does it appear that guys are on the same page? Are the routes sharp? Are the hands good at the end of the catch? Is the throw good? But those are fairly, basic things that we would expect from players at this level of college, especially on air and practices. This is really a fine-tuning thing that we're observing. Again, though, you don't want to jump to conclusions based off of things like routes on air or one-on-ones between offensive and defensive linemen, which might not even be at full speed. So I think we'll be able to learn a lot more as camp goes on in these brief observation windows that we're allowed to have. But again, 3 practices is just not nearly enough really to have any conclusions. And again, college teams are required to spend the first 2 practices of any camp period in helmets only. Then they have to transition to shells, which is helmets and shoulder pads, before transitioning into full padded practices. That also contributes to making it somewhat difficult to have any, too early takeaways, because guys are required to practice at a certain speed with each stage. And so again, it's early. It's very early.
Yeah, of course. If anybody has any questions, feel free to leave them Facebook Live for Jacob. Jacob, I am kind of curious about. Have you talked to any of the guys so far? Has there been any media availability for you?
Yeah, so we've already talked to 2 coaches, 2 assistant coaches, in addition to Coach Napier. Jabbar Jalouk, Florida's running backs coach, and Rob Sale, Florida's offensive line and co-offensive line and offensive coordinator. Everybody seems really happy with the way that things are going so far. I think the big theme in having talked now to a couple coaches, and strength and conditioning coach Mark Hockey has also talked as well. The big theme has been the level of comfort, the level of fluency that players and even coaches have as they start to enter their second set of spring practices as a coaching staff. That's a big thing. I think that this is a group of coaches who really is leaning into the fact that players should kind of know what to expect now. There's a level of kind of understanding, if you will, going into these spring practices, and they feel that that's greatly to their benefit. Things like scheme aren't really a problem this spring. There's not a lot of reteaching going on. Obviously, Florida has 39 new scholarship players. It will be, part of the process will be teaching those guys how things go around here. But to have the rest of the roster already up to speed is a benefit that they did not have last year. So in talking to the coaches, that is one of the bigger themes so far.
Right. And yeah, the strength and conditioning, I think, is the biggest one because, guys come in when new strength coaches come in, I feel like it's about kind of shocking guys to get them used to what those different coaches run. Now you can actually, like you said, build off of it and, sorry, you can build off of it and guys come in knowing what to expect. And that can make them go that much harder. They commit that much harder to the program. They're not trying to figure out where they fit inside of it or how they're going to handle it. They know how they can do it and really attack it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think that's what they're talking about is just whether it be in the weight room, guys knowing how a workout is expected to unfold, whether that be, on the practice field when the pads are on, just knowing the intensity, the workflow of a practice is really important and helpful. And by the way, I should say that Florida does still have 2 scholarship quarterbacks who went through the system last year. So you have a new guy in Graham Mertz who still has to learn, the schemes and the way that things are supposed to operate from a day-to-day basis at Florida. And granted, there have been a lot of people who have said that he's learned quite quickly, but to have 2 quarterbacks in Max Brown and Jack Miller who do know the workflow, who do know the process at Florida, like Billy Napier told myself and Graham Hall, the Swamp 247 crew, he told us that that's really important to have 2 quarterbacks who are ready to go, who understand exactly what needs to happen. That assists and goes a very long way in making sure that practices run smoothly and making sure that guys are able to, learn and acclimate to their environment when they have guys around them who are experienced. So I think that is really to Florida's benefit this year for sure.
Joseph wants to know any takeaways with the new defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong. Can you feel any intensity from that?
So that's actually a really good question. I'm going to broaden the question out to talk about Austin Armstrong, but as well Russ Callaway, who is expected to be announced as Florida's new tight ends coach. One of the things that has stood out to me and several other media members in our 3 practices of very limited observation is that there is an energy change relative to what we observed in practices last year. Austin Armstrong is a louder, kind of more in-your-face style of coach. He's very involved. He's very vocal. And Russ Callaway is the same way. It's loud. He is demonstrating drills. They were working on the blocking sleds, the solo blocking sleds 2 practices ago. Russ Callaway's first, after it became clear that he was going to become the tight ends coach at Florida. And he was the one demonstrating for his players exactly how he wanted the drill to look. Flat back, low, leveraging the pads, pushing the sled back in a certain way. Foot movement had to, be very specifically done. And it was such a loud, really physical, involved demonstration from Russ Callaway. I was so impressed. And I think that that's been the key difference between Callaway and Armstrong and Tony and Piegler. And that's not to say that Tony and Piegler were doing it wrong. It was just that their style was a lot different. I think that it could be a nice change of pace for Florida to have kind of that louder, authority type coach in both roles.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of Scott Frost when they were getting ready for Navy and he's running the triple option in practice against his players when they're going through walkthroughs and everything. I mean, I think I would really appreciate a coach who's not afraid to get out and demonstrate, because that just helps communication and it helps get the message across a lot clearer than if you just tell them, hey, do this thing, and tell them the steps to it. You show them, they can kind of visualize it a lot better, and it gives them a chance to understand it and get it right the first time.
Yeah, I think for me also it's that to have a coach who's out there and kind of having that aggressive approach that yells out instructions, the guy who's very on top of you if he sees you make a mistake. I only see benefit to that, really. I think that there is something to be said for a coach who kind of goes about it with softer mannerisms throughout practices. That can be helpful as well. There's key differences for me personally. I do believe that the coaching style that Callaway and Armstrong bring to the table tends to, in my observations, get more out of the athletes than the other does. And so I'm excited to see the results. I think that Austin Armstrong is going to work a lot with Florida's safeties. How does that unit perform relative to last year? How do Florida's tight ends perform relative to last year? And I think that tight ends specifically are a great unit to be able to keep an eye on because there's hardly any change to it. Florida lost a couple players, certainly. Only brings in Tony Livingston. The unit looks exactly pretty much the same as it did last year. The variables have not really changed other than the coach. So it'll be interesting to me to see exactly how the tight ends perform, how much they're involved in Florida's offense from a passing perspective, and how successful they are in the run blocking game as well.
Yeah, I am asking you, can you see that them being more of a factor this year compared to last year, just on the fact that they basically look the same in terms of that room?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a possibility. There's no way to know right now.
Yeah.
I think that Florida's tight ends, Billy Napier's a guy who likes to get them involved. He loves 12 personnel sets. That's one running back and two tight ends for those of you who are unfamiliar. He went to that a ton at Louisiana. We saw quite a bit of it last year as well. Tight end involvement in an offense doesn't necessarily mean catching the ball every other play. It is a blocking thing. It's a pass protection thing. It's such a dynamic position that I do think that there's more ways than just catching the ball and racking up receiving yards that Florida's tight ends can contribute. So in that respect, I do think it could improve a great deal, and it kind of has to. Of Florida's 21 players, just kind of off the top of my head, but of Florida's 21 players who recorded at least 200 offensive snaps last year, all of Florida's tight ends ranked, I believe, just the bottom three of those 21 players in terms of offensive overall rating, according to Pro Football Focus. That needs to improve. Florida will need some more production out of that position. So I do think that there's not the bars is somewhat low after the first season, and I do anticipate some improvement.
Sorry, I had myself muted to take a drink there. It's my fault. Let me tell everybody about Ruse Ogra Insurance. Ruse Ogra State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals to help life go right. With the right insurance options for you and your family, visit ograinsurance.com or call them at 352-240-1779. Jacob, you're not just taking time to cover the Gators out at the practice facility for football, but you're also spending plenty of time at Condren Ballpark. The Gators have their last non-conference weekend series before they started up against Alabama in SEC play. What have you liked about this non-conference stretch for them so far?
Man, I think you got to start with the offense. This is a team that has scored at its worst 6 runs in a game. That was a game that Florida lost, scoring 6 runs. 6 runs is going to get you a lot of wins in most games. The offense is so dominant. I think that Florida has hitters 1 through 9 who look about as good as anybody in that respective batting order position in the country. So I'm talking Florida is competitive, at least, for the best 9-hole hitter in the nation. Florida is competitive for the best 7-hole hitter in the nation. They are offensively so streamlined, so mature in their approach. The power that this team has is pretty much unparalleled. They're on pace to absolutely shatter the single season home run record for the program. Guys like Jack Caglione are among the most impressive players I've seen at the college level, period. A great pitcher, leads the nation with 11 home runs. Wyatt Langford is on track to be a top 5 overall pick in this year's upcoming MLB draft. Just such an impressive lineup that has been assembled for this team. The starting rotation stands out to me over the weekends. Florida has guys who I think could truly start on Friday nights for almost any other team in the country. And then, of course, just I'm running through the whole thing here. Bullpen has been the biggest concern for this group. But granted, just with the strength of the team in the other 2 areas I just mentioned, this looks like a squad that has the potential to make a really deep run into the NCAA postseason.
Yeah, that bullpen's been a really touchy issue for Florida. And Sully was a little bit hesitant to start getting at him a little bit, but I think he's come out and said, look, we just have to pitch better coming out of the bullpen. And, I've seen it to where the team is just completely, they put one guy in and it just completely snowballs from there. There's no guy who can really kind of put the fire out for them. There is no fireman, even though Karsten Finvold warms up to the Lil Wayne song. So that is something that I think must be driving Sully insane, because everything else seems to be working well for them, especially on defense. Defense last 2 years has been kind of an issue with errors, especially guys like Josh Rivera, who would kind of take his at-bats out to the field with him and he'd commit an error or two throughout the game if he wasn't hitting well. And he's shown a lot of maturity in that. And, he's really stepped up being a leader. And even though he was 1 for 9, I think, against Miami, he was still playing great defense, even was keyed in on a big double play that got them out of an inning on Sunday. But the bullpen would hopefully, this can be a time that the Gators can kind of work on that, because Siena is not good. They're 2-10. I mean, how do you see this being just a couple of run rules and head on to SEC play?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those series that's probably going to be pretty ugly for Florida's opponent. But I don't know that it's about, whether or not Florida's going to win this series. It's obvious that if Florida doesn't sweep, it would be a surprise. But this is kind of an opportunity for Florida to just continue to trot arms out there, get guys work off the mound. We mentioned the bullpen. They are off to a good start this week. They obviously need to see more from them, but Kevin O'Sullivan was pleased with the way the majority of the guys threw in Florida's 18-11 win over FAU on Tuesday. Obviously, Florida's arms were great. Tyler Nesbitt and Philip Abner on Wednesday, throwing 8 shutout innings, just 2 hits in an 11-0 victory. But now is the time to kind of capitalize on that momentum. Florida feels good about where the team is headed from a pitching perspective after 2 midweek games against Florida Atlantic. Keep that momentum going now against a team like Siena. Get your starting pitchers in there, 6 innings, get them out, throw your bullpen in there, see what happens. That is a very valuable thing to have. And then Florida has one more game against UNF. So that is also another one of those opportunities to really test guys out of the bullpen before you face Alabama next Thursday.
Right. I'll tell you about Comfort Temp really quick. Comfort Temp, comfort is their business. Peace of mind is their promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioner's tune-up today. Keeping you chill and the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call them at 352-376-2366. And that brings us the This Day in Sports, brought to you by Comfort Temp. So I have this one. There are a couple that were really good, but I thought this one was most interesting. 1973, March 10th, North Carolina State wins the ACC tournament under Coach Norm Sloan, who had just coached at Florida a couple years prior. The Wolfpack became the 13th team to win the regular season and the conference tournament. But they did not go to the NCAA tournament because they had sanctions due to recruiting a guy by the name of Dave Skywalker Thompson, who was really big for them from like 1971, 1975. They actually then went on to win the national championship that next year. So happy conference tournament week, everyone. Back to more baseball. I am interested to see what happens with the starters. You mentioned them because I don't know. I might be a little bit more of a perfectionist in terms of my evaluation. I like to see them go a little bit longer in terms of innings, maybe being a little more efficient in some spots. But what you said with getting the bullpen work, would you see them kind of going maybe a little bit shorter just to get bullpen work for guys?
Well, first of all, I think that Florida starters have been really good, averaging roughly 6 innings each every time they go out there. You don't need much more than that. You know, a 6-inning outing is going to be perfectly acceptable from Florida starting pitchers. So I think that they've been really good in that regard. They're all missing bats. Hurston Waldrop currently ranks second in the country. Brandon Sproat is not terribly far behind. He's striking out a whole bunch of guys. Jack Caglione has a sub 2.2 ERA. I think his ERA is like 2.08 or something through 3 weekends. I think Florida starting pitchers have looked really, really good. Do I think that they would go shorter to get the bullpen more work? No, probably not. I think that Florida will try and get its starters at their appropriate amount of work as well this weekend. So I would say 6 or 7 innings are probably within reason. Unless somebody's doing something historic, they could probably go even longer.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that they'll change their plan just to get the bullpen more innings.
Yeah, and I just say that because I don't know. I guess I came with the expectation that Brandon Sproat would probably continue what he did those final 6 weeks of the season last year, and Hurston Waldrop is just an absolute horse. So I might have had a little bit higher expectations for them than what a starter would do. You know, I would think these are guys that you can expect to go 7 innings when they take the bump, just because of how good they are as pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not, in my opinion, an expectation that is people expecting 7 innings out of a starting pitcher nowadays is probably not super realistic, especially at the college level. Pitchers, a 6-inning start is a really good start. That's your benchmark for quality start. So look, I mean, if you're going to get 6 innings out of these guys every single time, they're going to be in the conversation for some of the better pitchers in the country. That 6 innings is a really good performance. I mean, would it be nice to see them poke into the 7th inning a couple more times? Maybe, sure. I think for where Florida's at in the year, though, it's been a perfectly fine start in terms of the caliber of the starting pitching.
Right. Maybe I'm just dumb. Who knows? I'm probably still a little bit used to right before the specialization and all that stuff, where guys were usually going a little bit longer than this too. That's like 130 pitches here. I'm just talking like you weren't going to relievers in the 4th or 5th inning. But I just want to ask you, who's somebody you think has really caught your eye outside of the Wyatt Langfords and the Jack Cagliones and the Josh Rivera's, all the big names? Who's somebody that you've really liked watching so far this season?
Well, I don't know if you're going to consider him a big name, and you can nix it if you do, but I have been thoroughly impressed with Cade Kurland, Florida's second baseman. Just such a mature hitter for somebody who really should be a senior in high school. And yes, I know he is the same age roughly as his fellow current true freshman. But that doesn't mean he has the same experience. He had not played a senior year of high school. That's a critical phase in a lot of players' developments. But he's just such an elite hitter, just so calm at the plate, so in tune with his swing. This is a guy who's really impressed me. His defense is very good, but he's already hitting leadoff for Florida. So I am that's definitely the person who I think has stood out to me the most. Besides, your big Wyatt Langfords and Jack Cagliones, Josh Rivera, I would probably give it to Cade Kurland.
Excuse me. And right. And it feels like when Mikey Robertson kind of went down, that really gave him a super big chance to step up in the lineup.
It certainly did. I mean, Mikey Robertson was the projected leadoff hitter for this Florida team. He suffered a minor knee injury against Cincinnati in the Friday night game, wasn't able to play the next 3 games. Florida promotes Cade Kurland into its leadoff spot. I believe he was hitting 6th before he moved up to 1st, and is doing super great, hitting over 400. He's got 5 bombs on the year. He's reached base, I believe, in every single game of the season so far. that he's participated in, including the one time he had a pinch hit walk was his lone plate appearance of a contest. This is a guy who is appearing to be somebody who's really going to be special at Florida and beyond. So a great addition by Kevin O'Sullivan, speaks to his ability to recruit so well. And yes, as somebody who is clearly taking advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah, those Berkeley Prep kids. I mean, Berkeley Prep's produced all kinds of athletes. Nelson Aguilar is actually an alumnus of that school down there in Tampa. So, I mean, with this weekend, do you think you're going to see some guys maybe, like Cade Curlin obviously is taking advantage of his, but do you see some other guys maybe getting an opportunity this weekend just because of the nature of the opponent?
Maybe. I think Kevin O'Sullivan's kind of the mind right now that he's working on fine tuning the lineup and the rotation and the bullpen for guys who are really going to be out there consistently throughout the remainder of the season. So I just don't think it's his style to calibrate, maybe I should put in some guys who are deeper reserves in the starting lineup. That's not how Kevin O'Sullivan rolls. Kevin O'Sullivan treats every opponent as if it's the hardest opponent he's faced. I expect Florida's starting pitchers to have no, new limits to how far they can go into the ball game or what it is they can do. I expect Florida to use its top relievers when it comes time to go to the bullpen. I expect the team's top lineup to be out there when they announce the starting lineup every day this weekend. I just think that he views every single one of these series as very important, very difficult. He said last week that there isn't a team in the state of Florida that you can just go about not taking seriously. He said if one mistake against a Florida university or college and you're done. And so, yeah, I would expect this to look exactly like the other weekends have so far.
Now, obviously that being definitely the case on, I believe it was Tuesday night against FAU, where Nolan Shanuel had 3 bombs and all of them were absolute nukes.
Yeah, he's a legitimate Major League Baseball prospect. I think that's a guy who's going to get drafted. Could be in the top 3 rounds. He's probably one of the better prospects out of FAU in a couple of years. So he's a phenomenal hitter, and that lineup is good too. I think FAU on Tuesday impressed me in their ability to kind of hang with Florida from an offensive perspective, especially Shanuel. Just a really good swing, a lot of power, and you wouldn't maybe necessarily expect that from a team like FAU. So yes, like Kevin O'Sullivan said, Florida teams tend to have a couple of players on those rosters who can hurt you, and FAU certainly did that as well.
Right. Giving two more reads here. If you've got knee pain, shoulder pain, or hip pain, or back pain that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at qckinetics.com or QC Kinetics with locations in Ocala and now open in Gainesville, 352-400-4550. And then Peachland Dentistry is for you, Jacob. Gator's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com and join JC and Shane for their Peachland Dentistry weekend picks. Hopefully they made those in the first half of the show because I don't have any for you, Jacob. I will ask you for one pick, though. Who is going to win the men's SEC basketball tournament?
That's a good question. This isn't going to be a popular answer, but I'm going to go with Alabama. I think that's a team that's just rolling. Deep roster, very talented players, several guys who I think can have a successful career at the NBA level. They're just beating teams bad. So I think the safe pick is Alabama. And if I were to give a fun pick, did Vandy win? Did Vandy win? Have they played already?
I believe so. I gotta look. Yes, they play Kentucky tonight at 9.
Okay, so my fun pick will be Vanderbilt. They're hot, really hot. Jerry Stackhouse, co-SEC Coach of the Year, along with Buzz Williams, just peaking at the right time here. If you want to toss around that terminology,
yeah,
definitely peaking at the right time. So my safe pick, Bama. My little more exciting upset pick will go Vandy.
Yeah, that'd be great to see Stackhouse win it, and they absolutely would solidify themselves going to the NCAA tournament by getting that automatic berth. If anybody else was wondering, SEC tournament games today, Alabama and Mississippi State, Tennessee and Missouri, Arkansas and Texas A&M, and obviously Kentucky and Vanderbilt is your night game. Those games going 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 7, and obviously 9. I want to thank Jacob again for joining us. He's been a great guest every single time he's been on. Go check out his work at 24/7 Sports. Him and Graham Hall do awesome work there, getting all kinds of scoops and all kinds of information for everybody in the Gator Nation. But for him, I'm Jake Hitt. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.